So we're getting loads of documents in, and it just takes time to go through them and really check, double check, triple check, so that we can give you the truth. Since the media, media plays games, right? The media plays a lot of games, and they're just deceivers or attack dogs or political activists. That's what they've become, the mainstream media, and particularly Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, which is El Paso Community Foundation. And we're going to be talking about that today. So thank you so much for joining so late at night and all of your sharing, your liking, your sharing, your commenting. All of that helps because we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and we need to participate and drive the compromised and the corrupted system to do the right thing. That, and I know that sounds wild, but that's exactly what we need to do. We cannot say it any other way. They are compromised and they're corrupted, and this is a system we have, and then we need to drive them to do the right thing. So here we are, 2029 days. I knew yesterday I did something wrong on my live stream. I forgot to hit the button to enter the title, but today it's 2029 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there because they came after him. He was under whistleblower protection, and that detail did not show up that day. And so he was left vulnerable. They knew it. I think they even planned it. And they forcibly removed him from his barracks room, where he had told me that no way was he going to leave because he feared for his life. He feared for his life. So they came and got him, and they took him downstairs to a soundproof room. It's the arms room, and they took his life. And because this is a military operation, um, and of course, Fort Bliss operation, they had the support to steal his body off of Fort Bliss. And because it is the Mormon faction El Paso cartel, they had the means and everything in place to traffic his body to Mexico for disposal, a U.S. Army soldier for disposal, and evidence indicates they even harvested his organs. This is so heartbreaking for a lot of people. For a lot of people, we've been doing this for over 5.5 years every day and looking at evidence every day, believe you, every day. And it is so hard to believe, but it's the truth. It's the truth. We have been betrayed by our own military and by those that came into our country or were in our country and took advantage of our good nature, the good nature of our country. They took advantage of it, and they weaponized it to do uh, loads of evil, loads of evil. And who am I talking about, really? Well, Epstein is a great example of that, right? He's in our country, born in our country. Was he born in our country? I don't know. Um, I need to look that up. Where Jeffrey Epstein, I thought he was born in New York or something. Um, in our country, and to exploit our country for evil and use the system and to help other people exploit our country, because he was a financier. Okay, he was a financier, so he was a scammer, he was a con job, he was a Ponzi schemer. Okay, because he was a financier, and if you know anything about Ponzi schemes, you know that they'll try to sell you, shares and like um like a train, a rail system or something like that. Oh, that reminds me of California, right? The Ponzi scheme. And then they'll just take your money. They call it an investment. And, and what Epstein did in order to thieve and take people's money is he insured it by making part of the Ponzi scheme so criminal that they had to participate in it for it to work. And that's where all of the major trafficking and crimes against children and women and all of that come in. He compromised the people that he was investing their money, right, for eternal life or some kind of elixir that he could monetize mathematically and turn into a financial instrument, so that not only could they have, uh, never die, never face judgment, right? They never wanted to face judgment, but that they could be rich also. It would secure their wealth, and that's the thing that rich people fear the most. They really fear losing their wealth, and they will do anything for that, just anything to maintain this wealth. And they will betray everybody. It's so, they just make a living hell, you know. Um, it really is. Yeah, it really is very, very clear when you start investigating, like we have been investigating. Um, and it makes you understand the so much of the reports of what goes on in these um, homes that they have to try to report. And you're like, what happened? Oh my gosh, they had so much money. But it's a living hell. It's absolutely a living hell. So the big news that we want to release is about Bob Moore and El Paso matters and these very wealthy land barons. And El Paso News.org released a couple of articles, the first one mainly, because of the Cassiano case. If you haven't heard about the Cassiano case, it is El Paso ISD Independent School District case. Employees of that um, that were reporting irregularities. Um, they were not agreeing what was happening in the El Paso ISD, and Bob Moore used his digital platform, his digital journal, to attack these three people that ended up getting arrested, ruining their life. And there was no charge. There was no like, what did they violate or anything like that. There was no charge. And so for 2 years, they went through living hell. And I have the recording here, and I need to play it because it is just so clear. What Miss Gabriel Cassiano, went through. She wanted to give a statement. And let's see if yeah, because there's a couple of these. I didn't have it ready to go, but the Cassianos, there it is. Let me play that real quick because I think it's really important. Here it is.
Hello?
Hi, Ms. Castellano. This is Bob Moore from Paso Matters. Mr. Valenzuela gave me your phone number and said that I could give you a call to talk about the dismissal of the charges against you and your husband and Mr. Barrera. Is that okay with you?
Yes, and I want you to quote me. Okay, so I will never give you a statement. You are a biased political operation who destroyed people's lives and livelihoods, including ours. Everything you published about us was libelous and slanderous. We have no faith in your reporting. It was all malice by you. You cost me my livelihood.
Okay.
Quote that.
Can I talk to you, ask you questions about?
I already told you. I will not give you a statement. I will not answer your questions. Before all this started, you didn't reach out for us to find the true story. You missed out on this story, on a story that is worse than you can imagine. I do not wish to speak to you any longer. Do not call again.
So, Bob Moore, really, when you look at that case, El Paso Matters, who is controlled by El Paso Community Foundation. Okay, people have to understand that El Paso Matters doesn't do anything without the approval, the backing, everything with El Paso Community Foundation, which is Woody Hunt, which is other very powerful people like Beto O'Rourke, like Bill Sanders. These are the donors. The donors, of course, they're the ones that have the big say so. And I was just reading another article, and at the end it goes, well, we just wanted to let you know that this is about the donors, but the donors do not control what we write in our paper. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. Sorry. Especially in this media climate, it's all about the donors, and no one will convince us that it's not about the donors. And so when you know that El Paso Matters is there for exclusively for the benefit of El Paso Community Foundation, then you can understand why, what is controlling their bias reporting, that they are a protection racket, that they are a political activist journal, right? And if they would say we are a political activist journal, then that would be okay, right? But that's not what they want. They want taxpayer funds. And so, in order to get those taxpayer funds, they impersonate, like they're going to be an educational voice, or an investigative journalist or something like this, which they are not. They are clearly running a protection uh, scheme, right? Or, eh, well, they want to protect these land barons. They want to protect the trafficking pipeline. They want to protect the Mexican cartel. They want to protect um, their political agenda, right? That really Ricardo Samaniego is a good example where he secures that politics in order to get public funds. So it's all about getting public funds, stealing from the public. And we saw that with the El Paso, the Walmart mass shooting case also in 2019, where it didn't take them but hours. Something that should take a couple weeks or more than that, took just a couple hours to look into Patrick Crucius's finance, his family's finances, who was the disciple of John of God, right? His father was the disciple of John of God. Um, and they did not even look into it. They just within hours of the event, they had the approval of appointed counsel to take public funds for his defense, right? And he's from a wealthy family, but it's um, this is a protection racket. El Paso Matters is, and I would even say El Paso Community Foundation is a protection racket for the larger. Well, they're pretty up there because they wanted Beto O'Rourke in the White House, right? They wanted Beto O'Rourke in the White House, but I think it's even bigger than that because it has to do with what's beyond the president in the White House. Who are these trilateral commission people? Who are these billionaires, or maybe even trillionaires that want to run the world, right? And so this is where you see what is so stunning about Jeffrey Epstein is how much power he was given, how he was revered, revered by everybody in that elite class. They were just like, oh, Jeffrey, 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 let me hand over my entire wealth to you, or, protecting him every which way, except for President Trump. They just released, and I don't know if I have that brought up, but they just released a a video of him in 2015 where he's like, that place is a cesspool. That island, Jeffrey Epstein Island, is a cesspool. You have to ask Prince Andrew, right? He knows about it. Prince Andrew knows about it. And of course, Prince Andrew was arrested today. He was already released, of course. Um, but it's a big deal that he was arrested, and everyone knows um, that he needs to be tried, that more information needs to come out, and he needs to be held accountable for what he did in relation to all of the British secrets. You see, this is about breaching national security. And this is what Prince Andrew did. He would, people think it's all about the children, right? The terrible crimes against the children. And for most of us, that's what it's about. How can that be allowed to happen, right? But for the legal system and the what they're looking at is this breach in national security, him handing British intel within hours to Jeffrey Epstein. So taking things that belong to Great Britain, the people of Great Britain, that he has been entrusted to, breaking that trust and handing it over to Jeffrey Epstein. That's why he was arrested. And it needs to be for the other also. Absolutely. That unfortunately many need to be arrested for the crimes against children, including Leilani Hart, right? Facilitating those crimes against children. So what that tells you is that the focus is on the breach of security. And in Richard's case, you see that the breach of his whistleblower security, he was asking for to be transferred, right? He wanted to be transferred because of the retaliation, what he was up against. And they, of course, they wanted to have him. They wanted to have him in their control, and so they could even make sure that the whistleblower security detail didn't show up, and they could make sure that the DES Thomas Kane, the director of emergency services, who was in charge of the cameras and all of the gates, all of the gates and security of the gates, that those were all breached. All of that was breached in order to get Richard's body off of Fort Bliss. And then, of course, the national security in El Paso was breached in so many ways to get his body trafficked over to Mexico, where, you know, uh, the organ harvesting and the disposal. And this is all connected to Bob Moore and El Paso Matters breaching national security. This is El Paso Community Foundation. Is really, people have been asking me, why are you saying Mormon faction, El Paso cartel? This is the greatest example of the Mormon faction, El Paso cartel, protecting, in alliance with the Mexican cartel, in alliance with the Jeffrey Epstein pipeline, land barons, absolutely in alliance with Cesar Duarte. And I keep saying his name because Americans need to learn his name, because he owns so much property in the United States. And he has been recently arrested and is being held in a jail in Mexico City. And the information surrounding him is very serious, really vile, vulgar, very serious, and really crimes against our national security, crimes against our country. And of course, with everybody involved in the Jeffrey Epstein pipeline, it is all about violating national security. Don't forget that Jeffrey Epstein, I just posted it a couple days ago. It seems like forever because of all the information we're going through. That Jeffrey Epstein's number one pilot, Larry, his daughter, Brooke, was financed by Jeffrey Epstein throughout her schooling, neuroscience, right? He was all about that kind of stuff. And she was commissioned as a military intelligence officer there at Fort Huachuca, working at Fort Huachuca. So was our CAO, Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Lyons, asymmetric warfare officer, military intelligence. We caught him. He's even published. You can look him up on Google. He's even published on how the military can use deceptive tactics against their enemies. They did that with us. He weaponized his training against us, breaching national security, his oath, because he was protecting this this pipeline. He was protecting this kind of fraud that is absolutely crimes against our national well-being and security. And he did it while he was in uniform, and going after targeting a U.S. Army soldier whistleblower or son. And so Joshua Lyons was at Fort Huachuca. So was Brooke Vizoki or Vizoksky or whatever her name is, the pilot's daughter, and of course Erica Kirk's mother there, and I would even say Thomas Garrett. Okay, I would even say Thomas Garrett, who also, don't forget Richard's general, the Forcecom general, Michael Xavier Garrett, and Thomas Garrett, a Marine, I believe E8 Marine, um, targeted us also. So, and there's a lot more to that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that this was our military. And of course, the prime suspects in our son's case is um, his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, his cousin, CID agent Tavita Nusa from Samoa. Okay. Samoa is, if you look it up with the Mormon faction, it's like top, top. Tongo, Tongo, um, Tonga, I don't know that island, is number one, and then comes Samoa, and America is Samoa. Um, Tavita Noosa's brother, Solomona Noosa, you can see in pictures of him, he's some kind of Samoan chief, but he was also a officer in the U.S. Army running mortuary operations. Um, so they um, absolutely up to no good in all of this. Tavita Nusa is a prime suspect, along with the prime suspect, Dallas Hart, and of course Dallas Hart's mother, Leilani Hart, convicted criminal, who confessed in writing and turned it in a notarized document, an affidavit, that she facilitated the worst type of crimes against children and the worst type of films of children, and failed to even report the worst type of crimes against children, has illegal immigration problems, and the purchase of illegal weapons. So that is really, she needs to be arrested. She needs to be arrested. Um, but this is who they're protecting. Of course, Bob Moore used Leilani Hart to attack our son's investigation in his publication. So he is really very biased because he knew exactly who she was. He knows what she is, um, and all the relations, and he used her anyway to attack the witness whistleblower in our son's case, um, and of course, um, to drive a false narrative about our son. So, and so that's why I really appreciate Gabriela Cassiano's very direct statement to Bob Moore. It was perfect. It was brilliant that she did that. And it is very, very true. So, what we know is true. Um, we also have to document. And so, the document that we put up, we received lots, but the document that we put up, let me see if I can open this up. Okay, so here it is. This is just page 1 of the certificate of formation for El Paso Matters. That was in March of 2019. Okay. And things were getting really heated in El Paso. It needed a protection racket times 2. Okay, they needed extra because um, Jeffrey Epstein was under investigation. He was just about to be arrested. The pipeline was absolutely being investigated. There was all kinds of John of God being arrested. Soon, in 2020, it would be Ghislaine Maxwell. They were under scrutiny. El Chapo had been arrested. And so the dismantling of this trafficking was underway, and so they needed some way to uh, protect them. And uh, these newspapers or these electronic journals, uh, with credentials, they have power in the courts. And so that's why they lie and cheat, and that the media lies and lies and lies, because they want to affect um, these court cases, essentially really breaching national security again, right? Because they don't want a good judicial system. Um, and it's very clear in this documentation, and not in this first page, but in the October 2025 document, that Bob Moore is playing games to try to juggle this under the new Trump administration, that absolutely has them under pressure and under investigation. Um, so they're trying to juggle things legally to protect themselves, because he's pulling like a James 2028 stamp Montoya, um, not properly installing. And James Montoya, um, he knew better. He knew better. Um, it takes a lot to win the vote and to get district attorney. Once you get district attorney, you want to not mess up. You don't want to mess up your oath of office, right? You want to follow the Texas Constitution, and you want to properly install. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. You have to sign the statement um, uh, that promises that you didn't take a bribe. That's called the statement of officer. But before you take the oath of office, that shouldn't be too hard to turn that in before you take your oath of office. But he didn't do it. He didn't do it. And neither did Bill Hicks. And then they tampered with the documents. Because if you turn it in afterwards, it's still not legally correct. It doesn't legally follow the Texas Constitution. And so you're not legally the district attorney. And I don't think they want to be. I think they want to operate outside of the law, right? Because if they operated within the law, they know that they would be really held accountable. But because they're essentially not a district attorney, uh, they're operating outside the law. And I think they feel like they can get away with more that way. And I think that and this is just my opinion on that. And I think that what Bob Moore did in his attempt October 2025, because of many victims, families reporting him for bias, reporting for being a political activist, not deserving a um, tax-free, tax-exempt 501c3 or any kind of tax-exempt status, that he should be a political activist journalist and let everyone know what he is, and so that he wouldn't be able to do the damage that he does, and have using taxpayer money to do it. So he's been under immense pressure. And so he reorganized a little bit, attempted to, in October 2025. And at the end, it just seems strange because when you compare the original 2019 certificate of formation to the 2025 certificate of formation, one, and I'll get that ready and share it with you, post it up because I think it's very important. One is dated, the signature is dated. The other one, the 2025, his signature is not dated. And, so legal experts out there tell me if your signature is not dated on uh, a, a certificate of formation or a recertificate of formation of something so important as a a journal that has credentials that the articles can be used, as verification in cases and things. This is why their lies are so damaging, y'all. This is why, because they use it in these court cases, and look what they did to the Castellanos, and look what they've done to Richard. It's so evil. So I just don't think that what he did worked, but maybe, he did it on purpose. Maybe he wants to work outside the law. I know he wants to be outside the law, or he thinks he's above the law because of his actions, right? So let's look at this form. Um, so, and I don't know if I can get really close to it. Um, and I need to do this better. I need to learn how to do this better. I don't think it really works. But unless I go up here and I can, maybe that helps. I don't know. No, that doesn't help. Whoops. Okay, so this form here, and you can read it on Find Richard Halliday. But if you go to Article 4, number 2, what it says is that El Paso Matters is exclusively for the benefit of El Paso Community Foundation, and that El Paso Community Foundation runs El Paso Matters. That's what it's saying, And so he lies when he says that, oh, it's just a few donate, they just donate to it, they're just donors. No, they really have control, and the board is, and also they can even take money in and pay El Paso Community Foundation. So this is, it's like set up to clean dirty money. It seems like it's set up to clean dirty money, but I'll let a legal person decide that, right? But the way they can take money, and it's very broad, and who they can pay, and it's all about El Paso Community Foundation, this Mormon faction El Paso cartel in alliance with the Mexican cartel, why is it that El Paso Matters shares the same address with Rafael Arellano's ARGO oil and gas? Why is that? Why is that? Okay. And there's way more, because we know, and if you don't know who Rafael Arellano is, he's the son of Rosa Maria Purchase Arellano Cuarón. These are the owners of Plenitude Crematorium, and they own Argo Oil and Gas. They also own restaurants and other entities, and a lot of those have been forfeited. They're under immense investigation. The whole thing with Plenitude Crematorium, where in one raid, over 400 dead bodies. Okay, over 400 dead bodies in one raid. Okay, so and this is where we believe, because of the evidence that we have, and because of these connections and their participation in um, trying to interfere in our son's case, you're only going to try to clean up the crumbs around the cookie jar and everything like that when, when you're afraid of being discovered that you're the one that stole the cookies, right? So they're interfering in our son's case because, um, well, we know because of the evidence that we have that they were part of what happened to our son. And so this is why this matters to us, why this is personal to us, because I can tell you, Bob Moore, before he wrote any article on Richard, had already targeted Richard. Okay? They, just like what they did with the Castellanos. Um, they targeted the Castellanos because they they were reporting the problems in El Paso ISD, right? So they fabricated, messed with these recordings, and the next thing you know, the Castellanos are being arrested with another person, right? Three of them, and without any charges, without any description of a charge. It was total retaliation. And it took 2 years for that to be dismissed. And thank God it was. And but in those 2 years, their livelihoods have been destroyed. Um, you know, it just ruined their life. And so now they can start rebuilding it. But and then Bob Moore has the gall to call them up and try to get a statement. He is like, uh, you know, is he a twin of Jeffrey Epstein? Maybe. I mean, they don't look alike. They don't look alike, but it's remember that Jeffrey Epstein had the no guilt gene, right? The no guilt gene, and that's how he operated. And it seems that's how Bob Moore operates too. He will do the most despicable things, and not feel a thing, not feel a thing. But he needs to be held accountable for what he's done here. And I hope that you really read this form. I try to keep it very simple because there's so much more in this, like that they operate in the north zone of Chihuahua, Mexico, which is Juarez, which is Cesar Duarte, which is Carlos Manuel Salas, the attorney general, the prosecutor for the North Zone, that now is a resident in the United States, and he's the one that this is a reason why Jose Luis is out on this kind of Mexican bond kind of thing. Um, the judge saying the most ridiculous things like, "Oh, well, the bodies weren't concealed." So you walk in to this place and bodies are hidden in every nook and cranny, over 400, and they're not concealing the bodies. They're giving some families jars of construction material. That's not concealing a body. uh, you know it's and we know that the judge is a corrupt judge. We know that, right? And that's why our voices need to be very, very loud, and we need to drive them to do the right thing. And that judge needs to be out. That judge needs to be out and held accountable. And now we learn that Argo Oil and Gas is being sued, right? Is being sued. So that really weakens their businesses are shutting down, and they have lots of them, and they have lots of property on both sides of the border. lots of businesses on both sides of the border, and they are absolutely connected to El Paso Matters, El Paso Community Foundation. So when I say that El Paso Community Foundation, this is Woody Hunt mainly, and of course, Woody Hunt is very connected to Bill Sanders, and Bill Sanders is the father-in-law of Beto O'Rourke. And Bill Sanders, of course, I put up the map where he bought property at the same time as Jeffrey Epstein in the same place where their properties or ranches were next to each other. They were next door neighbors. And we have Beto O'Rourke being the next door neighbor to Rafael Arellano. We have Beto O'Rourke employing the family of La Diabla. And that is the connection with the organ harvesting and the baby extraction. And I hate to even talk about it like this. It's these fakes, these illegal C-sections and what they did. It's just the most horrible thing. And of course, El Paso Matters being the journal part of it, just like Oprah being the media part of this, saying, oh, John of God is so great and Beto O'Rourke is so great. Everybody vote for him. Bob Moore is doing the political attacks on anyone that is opposing. Um, I don't know all the names he has called me. And then, just being the protection racket while being the attack dog against the opposition. And of course, uh, for uh, the Walmart case, right? The Walmart where they were attacking President Trump with the narrative that was false, a false narrative, and trying to, with Oprah's help, with Obama's help, to get Beto in the White House, and thank God that didn't happen. But yeah, so this group buying property right there, right outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico, right above, bordering off of White Sands Missile Range, right above, and then right below, like in between where White Sands is, near Albuquerque. No, yeah, Albuquerque was Cesar Duarte's ranch, right? That is reported. That's not that is not 100% like Jeffrey Epstein's ranch and Bill Sanders' ranch. Cesar Duarte has tons of ranches in New Mexico, but they are very protected. It's very protected. But the big tip was right there, right outside of Albuquerque, bordering the south part of Zorro Ranch. So they are these land barons. And why do they want those properties? Because they want the restricted airspace, right? The White Sands gave them that restricted airspace, and their properties allow for those planes. And of course you have Fort Huachuca doing the signaling, so they could take their planes back and forth, and they could absolutely traffic without any kind of inspection. And that's and then to use our military to do it. And this is where the post that I just put up, um, this one here, where Jeffrey Epstein allegedly arranged military helicopters for his friends so they could fly to Afghanistan and hunt down farmers. So, yeah, I, I know. And I can only read it one time to you because it is like, and this is Tom Pritzker. Tom Pritzker from Chicago, and don't forget, Bill Sanders is from Chicago. Obama is from Chicago. Oprah Winfrey is from Chicago. This is a common denominator in all of this, and And in this here, Tom Pritzker is from Chicago. He was the head of Hyatt Hotels. Everyone knows Hyatt Hotels, right? And the very wealthy Pritzker family. Um, and so, what this is saying is that Jeffrey Epstein, that they had time with General Petraeus. And, I know of General Petraeus really well. My husband spent 30 years in the military. We knew that Petraeus was very, very up to no good, very bad guy. And supposedly in this, he gave 2 helicopters for Tom Pritzker to boys with toys. Boys with toys? Really? Using our taxpayer funds, breaching our national security, using our military so that a billionaire can go and hunt down Afghanistan farmers? Are you kidding me? No wonder that he stepped down, but he needs to be arrested. If there's any truth in this, he needs to be arrested. But why did I grab onto it? Why did we feel necessary to put it on there? Because we want to let everyone know that when you have Jeffrey Epstein having power through his pilot's daughter, to put his pilot's daughter as a military intelligence officer at Fort Huachuca, the home of military intelligence signaling asymmetric warfare tactics, and that were caught using their asymmetric warfare tactics and weaponizing it against our family, a Gold Star family. Um, do we believe? Do we believe when we have Nadal Bayim on CCTV footage? We have him identified, and he is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, and he is ordering a cashier to stay silent to take down the flyers of Richard while he's telling her that FBI have found our son in pieces in Mexico and that he's no longer alive. And this was in October of 2020. And Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, who just was fired but retired, um, keeps that truth from us. You know, what's going on in our military? Our military has been weaponized against us, is being morally degenerate in a war zone. I mean, to and many war zones are degenerate, but this is a billionaire saying, "Oh, give me 2 of your helicopters." And I want to know what kind of helicopters these were, because these helicopters cost so much money. Cost so much money. And they're doing this kind of thing. I mean, where is Petraeus? He needs to be uh, right away. Things that are coming out of Epstein's emails and files and all of that are just corroborating everything that we know in our son's case. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And it's not too nice for our country. It's all about security breach. And, why can Rafael Arellano have this kind of control, get residency? Why did Jose Luis, he only has residency. Why is he allowed to get all of these businesses and liquor licenses and all of that when he is, doing these kinds of crimes? I mean, running around in his Audi SUV, $150,000 vehicle, you know, and how much money did he get for humanitarian aid for recycling these bodies and impersonating them as unidentified migrants? I mean, who is looking into this? So it is very, very serious and very personal to us, and it corroborates our son's case and so many other cases. And thank God that the Castellanos case got dismissed and the truth has come out. And there's other cases too that, including our son's case, that well, we need our son's remains, don't we? And we know that they, because of other investigations that we've done on top of the Nadal Baim investigation, that confirms that they absolutely had our son disposed of there. And, that Connell Wetton leaked Richard's identity, that Connell Wetton has a personal connection with Rafael Arellano also, that El Paso Matters has a personal connection with them, that Rosa Maria Purchase Arellano Cuarón is very connected. I mean, their family living right next to Beto O'Rourke. And when you see the pictures of what they do, yeah, we have to speak up. We have to demand justice because we have a national security breach that is threatening our entire communities, all of our communities. And to have the Texas Rangers totally breached, also, they're totally compromised, y'all. Um, on top of that, that they are a threat to our public safety. This is what we have to report in our filings, is that the Texas Rangers are a threat to our public safety. You think it gives us pleasure to have to report that, document what they've done, and file it? But it has to be done, and it needs to be shared everywhere. And the same thing with our military. The mutiny within our military, we knew that there was mutiny within the military. And now, because of these files being released, because of the truth coming out, people are like, oh my gosh, General John Kelly needs to be arrested. Yes, he went and worked for Maru Campos, the governor for Chihuahua, as a foreign agent for security, security, what, advisor, a security advisor, and providing his company, providing all of the contract for 10,000 bed facility for unaccompanied minor migrants, right? Yeah, it is really, he needs to be arrested. He's like a Petraeus who betrayed us. So let me read the comments now. Anicia, thank you for coming on with your love and your prayers. I know it's so late all the time. Laura, thank you so much. Those files are something else. They make me sick, vomiting, yes. Many, many children, yes. And there's a lot of investigations going on. A lot of investigations. We have now millions of views, and we're not monetized. Please share. because those millions of views means millions of voices, voices demanding accountability. And that pressures them because it corroborates all of our filings that we have submitted. And it's like, okay, this is being done, this is being done. And look at all the voices that are behind that are boots on the ground, that are saying, yes, we have seen this happen too. We know this to be true. You are our witnesses. You are absolutely our witnesses, and you are the loud voice behind getting justice for Richard and many, many other families. Think about all the families that Plenitude Crematorium has hurt, which is the cartel. They are a narco crematorium, a disposal drop off for bodies that didn't like what they were doing. And the whole funeral home business, transnational funeral business, so many are in on this. And yeah, so you are the voice that is pushing for justice, and we are so grateful. We could not do it without you. And so we will come on every night, get out the truth. When you see the addresses that Arellano Cuarón's business is sharing the same address with Bob Moore and El Paso Matters, which is El Paso Community Foundation, and that they have connections with Samaniago. They have connections, which is the county judge, and they have connections with Colin Witten, the FBI assistant special agent in charge there in El Paso, that has been there for decades. He's really the special agent in charge, I think, and close connections with him, who then it makes, it's like, okay, his part was to leak Richard's identity to the cartel so that they could target our son. And he is the protection racket why the FBI have not arrested Leilani Hart, why the FBI has breached national security there at the border. Absolutely, by not doing their job. It was Connell Wetton of the colonies, the Mormon faction El Paso cartel from the colonies in Chihuahua, Mexico, in alliance with the Mexican cartel. And if you're in alliance with the Mexican cartel, you're in alliance with Cesar Duarte. Cesar Duarte in alliance with the whole Epstein pipeline. It's all connected. So thank you so much. Did the head of the church ever get back? No, the Mormon leadership has not answered us. Is this, well, I'm very positive about the future because all of this is being so exposed and transparent, and it's been going on for a long time. So to have it exposed and transparent is like the first step in a positive direction. So in getting accountability for our son, in getting our son's remains returned to us. So I'm always pretty much a positive, my cup is half full type of person. Throughout this whole thing, my cup runneth over with everything. I can just go on and on with how God's hand is on this to get to this place to reveal so much. Because think about the Mayella family with the Crucius family. Think about everything that we've exposed. So I think, um, the wheels of justice grind very slow, but they grind fine, and they want to manipulate the law and work outside the law because they really can't handle the law, right? So they'll tamper with documents, and but they can't run from the law, and they can't run from justice. And I think that's the positive, um, the positive message. And why am I giving a positive message? Because we need to know there's hope, so that we can absolutely um demand that they do the right thing. Demand and also drive them to do the right thing in a peaceful way. So, yeah, that we have strength. We need to know that we have strength, and that with their mind control and everything, they make us feel like we're little people, but we're not. We're not. We are the people who move this whole thing, by the grace of God. So, yeah, they work for us. That's why they want this tax-free money. They work for us, right? And so we need to absolutely voice um, accountability. So thank you so much. Let me read some more. Just imagine what else is in the files. Yeah, it's all coming out. I mean, when you have a former prince being arrested, you can tell that there's accountability happening. I wonder if this is anything to do with many deaths at Fort Hood. Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%, 100%. Um, Ray will kill too. Are you talking about Christopher Ray? Yeah. Um, they are the kings. Oh, you know, read the Magnificat, and you read that every night, it will make you so strong. Mary's words, right? Mary's words with the angel. Read the Magnificat. It is it tells you God's plan. And I think that is a great way to wish everybody a great night and say thank you so much. Please share. Please share, and please like, comment, and move all of this information forward. Thank you so much.